understate that. But this worldwide jihad, I think, also has to be combated with America using our non-military resources to combine with other nations, other civilized nations, including moderate Muslim states like Indonesia and Jordan and Egypt, to come together and say, how do we help moderate Islamic people reject the extreme? Because ultimately Muslims are the ones that are going to have to reject the extreme, the violent, the jihadists, the Salafi Muslims. And that is something I'm committed to doing. And that means using our resources like healthcare and education and our legal system and our economic know-how to help strengthen other people in the world so they can reject this violent extremism. Lebanon became a democracy some time ago, and while their government was getting underway, Hezbollah went into southern Lebanon and provided health clinics to some of the people there and schools, and they built their support by having done so. That kind of diplomacy is something that would help America become stronger around the world and help people understand that our interest is an interest towards modernity and goodness and freedom for all people of the world.
Is a very interesting organization.
The White House counterterrorism advisor told a Washington think tank Tuesday night that the group responsible for widespread violence in the Middle East over a 30-year period has evolved, and now is the time to reach out and weaken hardline elements.
What we need to do is to find ways to diminish their influence within the organization and to try to build up the more moderate elements within the Hezbollah.
Despite its political arm and influence in Lebanese government, the State Department website shows Hezbollah is number 16 on the current list of foreign terrorist organizations. This legal classification means it is against the law for American citizens to knowingly provide material support or resources to the group, which draws its support from Syria and Iran. As evidence, Hassan Nasrallah, seen by analysts as Hezbollah's center of gravity for fundraising and terrorist operations, recently visited the Iranian president. Even Brennan noted it will be hard to reach out to a banned group.
It is a foreign terrorist organization. We don't deal with them.
In 2006, the Israel-Hezbollah war, also known as the July War, began when militants based in Lebanon fired rockets at Israeli border towns. Brennan did not explain how the administration would differentiate between so-called hardline and moderate elements. Some analysts say the proposal is delusional.
Hezbollah has a clear ideological agenda that includes the destruction of Israel. This is a patronizing attitude that the U.S. knows best about Israeli security.
Hezbollah was blamed for a suicide truck bomb with the equivalent of 6 tons of TNT that pulverized the Marine barracks in Beirut, Lebanon in 1983. The explosion and fireball killed 241 American servicemen.
The United Nations created Israel as a state in 1947. They were immediately attacked by all of the Arab countries simultaneously. They barely survived the war. For a very long period, they had less than the amount of territory allocated to them under the United Nations resolution. They ultimately acquired more territory only in defensive wars where they were attacked repeatedly. The fact is, the whole region was run by the Ottoman Turkish Empire. There was no independent state in the region, and they were all part of Turkey. During the process of reorganizing after the First World War, there was a very large area set up for both Jews and Arabs. There have been Jews living there, after all, for over 2,000 years. Well, in fact, for 3,000 years. Jerusalem is over 3,000 years old. And there have been continuous occupation by some Jews for an extraordinary length of time. So I think it's a very one-sided view to see the area as only Arab. Again, you go and you visit Christian churches. You see the place where Christ was born. This is a very complex region. And the striking thing, as an earlier caller said, is that you can be Arab and serve in the Israeli army. You can be Arab and serve in the Israeli parliament. That, in fact, Israel has attempted to create an integrated, peaceful society very eager to live at peace with its neighbors. And both, if you go back and read a terrific two-part series in The New Yorker in 2002, where the reporter interviews the head of Hezbollah and says, look, not an inch of Israel is going to remain. We want the whole country. Or you go and look at the New York Times interview 3 years ago with the head of Hamas, who said, not a Jew will remain. And if our caller says, what we should do is open America's borders, allow 7 million Jews to migrate out of Israel, give up on the idea of Israel, let it be submerged, that's a rational strategy. I think it's wrong, but it's a rational strategy. Some notion that Israel somehow is responsible when you have people like Hezbollah and Hamas publicly dedicated to destroying it, or the Iranian dictator Ahmadinejad publicly dedicated to destroying it. I think the right of self-defense is precisely in the UN Charter, and I think Israel has every right to defend itself against those who literally would be satisfied with nothing less than eliminating Israel from the face of the earth.